Arts Essential, an examination of art's impact on our society, hosted by Holli Wagner. Art's essential to communicate, to give a voice, to help heal, for a sense of self, for a sense of community, to impact our society. Art's essential to the human existence. Sponsored by the McMinnville Center for the Arts and the Arts Alliance of Yamhill County. Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Holli Wagner, your host. Arts Essential, this is our first take, and Arts Essential is a show where we will be examining the influence of art in our society. Today I have the pleasure of having Cameron Nigh on the show, and Cameron will be talking with me. This being my first run, I'm going to be fumbling for words, and that's what I do.
We'll talk about whatever you want.
Okay, sounds great. So I'm really, I feel very privileged to have you be here. We kind of sprung it on you, and that's wonderful. I did some research on you and found that you are not only a producer and a director and an actor and a writer. You go the full gamut.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that you were born in Oregon?
Yes, born and raised in McMinnville. Grew up in theater, doing theater in the local area, and then decided I wanted to pursue a career down in LA. So at 18, I graduated from high school, spent one day with my mother and father, and then packed up and moved to LA. And spent 23 years there doing some minor things on and off in the film industry, and then decided it was time to come back up and relax a little bit.
That's awesome. You went to college down there in LA.
I did.
Right?
I went to quite a few. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Pasadena. I studied film at the UCLA Film Extension, and then a number of private teachers there, the Gray Film Atelier, a couple of local actors who also taught workshops and things like that.
That's awesome. And when you were here in McMinnville, and you said you were in the theater here in McMinnville before you went to LA, what did you do?
You know, I started out, my dad loved golf, and so he wanted me to be a professional golfer. And so I played literally 8 hours a day in the summers. I would go out and play golf. And then in 8th grade, my best friend talked me into trying out for one of the plays, and I haven't picked up a golf club since.
Oh.
So I did school plays, everything they did. I did sometimes 2 or 3 plays a time at Gallery, the theater here, and any place that I could just, perform or do something. I just loved to be on stage.
Do you remember the first play you were in?
The first play I was in was technically Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and I played the back end of a reindeer.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful.
But the first legitimate stage play I was in was Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful story. That's great. So when you were in LA, when did you move back up here?
I moved back up here in 2003, and so I was down in LA from 81 to 2003.
Okay, so your film, Angel of Death, that film you did in 2008, so you were already back up here in Oregon.
No, actually that's a little...
Is that off?
It's a little deceptive.
Okay.
We put 2008 because the IMDb wants the date that it was completed.
Oh.
And so it wasn't technically completed until then. We actually filmed it in the late 90s, early 2000s, just shortly before I moved back up here.
Okay.
And we filmed it down in LA in 2 weeks. We did all the interiors at my sister's house, and then all the exteriors. We rented a cabin outside of Big Bear and filmed the exteriors at night and slept and ate inside the cabin.
Wow.
And then just matched the two up thing. But it was a rough time at that point. My first wife was actually leaving me at the time, and so there went all the money to finish it. So when I moved back up here, I was able to raise the funds to finish it. With the new editing software and everything like that. So I was able to finish. So I didn't get it finished till 2008. It was a long process.
So that's why, okay, that all makes sense then. Because it does say LA and from the production section on the IMDb. I did notice that. Okay, and so tell us a little bit about, I mean, this is a full-featured film that you have.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people who can just say that you just walk up to in McMinnville, Oregon and say, oh, I wrote and directed full featured film. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a little unique in that it was actually shot on film, which is unusual today with the advent of video and things like that. But back when we were starting to do it in the late 90s, digital video hadn't really come into its own yet. It was getting started. So the standard was still film if you wanted to break into Hollywood. So we thought, well, let's do something different. So we were originally, my wife and I were going to do, we thought it would be fun to do the first ever made for public access feature film. So we were going to become part of a public access studio down in LA, use their cameras and everything, make this feature film, kind of set it around to other public access places. But while we were going through the casting and getting some of the crew, one of the guys who we hired as a production manager was like, you need to do this on film. You could make something with this.
Wow.
So he talked us into doing it on film. So we rebudgeted, rescheduled, and figured that we could shoot it on 16 millimeter and then transfer it to video for editing and keep the negative, so if somebody wanted to blow it up to a 35 millimeter print or something, it would be able to.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. You're sort of like towards the end of an era.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And that's why I had such a hard time with it, because we'd made that transition, and when we finally got it finished and I started to market it around to distributors, they were all saying the same thing. I go, it's all digital now. We don't know how to market the small movies.
Right.
You know, if it was
right.
Pirates of the Caribbean or something, we could make a fortune off of it.
Sure.
But we don't know how in the digital age yet to make. Now they do, but that was, you know, when I was first getting it started and shopping it around, they weren't. They didn't know how to make money off of it.
That's interesting.
So consequently, neither did I.
Oh. So how long did it take you to write it?
I actually wrote it in the space of about 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
We wanted to do something. It was film is difficult, and we wanted to do something for a low budget. So we wanted to come up with an idea in one place with just a very few actors. And so once we came up with the concept, then it was easy to kind of piece it all together. And you were talking a little bit about art and how it affects our life. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, the movie is Angel of Death, and it's about an abused woman. She's abused by her husband, and she goes to their mountain cabin to escape this abuse, but runs into 4 bank robbers who are hiding out there and give her more of the same. And my first wife actually was an abused woman, and
wow.
we went through a lot of difficulties with just her not being able to handle and process a lot of the abuse that she had gone through before she met me and
Wow.
we got married. And so there's a lot of many of the things. So it was easy to write it because I was going off some of the things that she had gone through.
Drawing off of real life.
Yeah, drawing off real life, and
Right.
yet trying to make it entertaining and in the form of a film.
Right, right. Well, that's really interesting that you took something so personal to your life relationship,
Right.
Which when you marry someone who has gone through something like that obviously becomes a part of your relationship. It's very fascinating that you brought that into your writing and brought that forward. And that's something that I did not get to see, and as I explained to you, I did not
Right.
get to see the end of the film. How does the end of the film?
This is where it gets difficult. The end of the film was very ambiguous. On one hand, we wanted to make a kind of a statement about abused women.
Right.
On the other hand, we were in it to make money, so we wanted it to sell as well.
Be more commercial.
So, right. So we wrote in a character, the title character, Angel of Death, which is like kind of the Clint Eastwood style, shows up at the last minute, dispatches the bad guys in violent ways,
Right.
and then leaves.
Right.
And it kind of left an ambiguous ending where the woman, she's out of the danger, but does she have the strength to really leave her husband or not?
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a...
Well, that's kind of like life too,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
We don't
Right.
always necessarily know the end of the story
Right.
and how it turns out. And
Yeah.
even if we think we know the end of the story, it could change down the road.
Sure.
Because that's the whole thing about life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
I mean, and that's really good. Well, that actually leads me to the do unto others, which kind of had an interesting kind of twist as well. I was really fascinated with that, and I didn't even know it was you in part of the film, and then I was also surprised to see some other locals that I knew.
Yeah.
I loved that. I actually really, I was going to say, before we even get to that, because I did love that, and so I wanted to bring it up, I was going to say that Angel of Death, actually, I saw that it had been reviewed, lots of reviews in other countries.
Yeah.
So I saw like Germany, France, Italy. I saw actual reviews, not that I could translate them all, but,
Right.
but I saw that it actually has been viewed across the world.
It's interesting. One of the first film festivals that I went to was, I'd gotten it into at that time it was the Washougal International Film Festival,
Yeah.
but it's since turned into the Columbia Gorge Film Festival. And so they screened it, and afterwards this British family came up to me, and they were like, oh, we just wanted to tell you how much we love the movie and everything like that. And we didn't get much from the American audience, or everybody that was there pretty much American, but this British family came up, and they said, oh, we love the mysterious stranger at the end, and because they like that suave James Bond kind of
sure.
British secret agent thing, and that's kind of the feeling we were giving this guy. He just shows up out of nowhere in a suit with,
That's very cool.
more knowledge than he should have, kind of a thing. And they just so it seemed to play well to non-Americans.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was really pleased when I was looking around and reading some of the reviews. I mean, some people really, I saw a few reviews that I could actually understand or read, and they were really pleased with the way that you took them on their journey. I think it was like 84 minutes or something in the movie, right?
Yeah, it was 84 minutes, and it was on film, so a particularly low-budget film, you're stuck with what you get. And what I mean by that is when we were filming it, I had designed it to be more of a suspenseful movie.
Right.
But it just turned into more of a violent movie.
Yeah, and I was wondering what genre you would call it, because it had like 5 different genres on IMDb.
There's a subgenre of the, woman in peril kind of a thing, and it seems to fall into that subgenre. But it wasn't quite what we wanted it to be, but it turned out to be good. I mean, it pieced together well. Like I've told people before, it's not Citizen Kane, but it's not Plan 9 from outer space either.
Right.
It's just somewhere kind of in the middle of
That's a great way to put it. I like that. I like that. Okay, so now the second Saturday Film Club, which is here in the McMinnville area, and the Do Unto Others. Now that was really fascinating. You played 2 characters, I think, if I read that right.
Young and old.
Young and old.
Young and old, yeah.
Young and old. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, or past and present.
Yeah, that would be the way to put it.
Okay, cool. And so, how did you feel about that? I mean, you played the character. You played a pretty intense character, and how?
I think the bad guys are fun to play. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
was,
something. I mean,
because it gives you a chance to. And it's kind of, this has nothing to do, but it was kind of funny when I was down in LA and I would meet actors, it seemed unusual that far and away the most friendly and the nicest ones were always the ones that played the bad guys. So maybe they get rid of the catharsis or something. They get rid of all the meanness out of them by playing the character. But that's what, it is fun to play somebody else and to go for a darkness or something like that, because it's in the back of your mind, it's make-believe.
Right. It's therapeutic.
It
could be therapeutic in a way, right?
Yeah.
I was really surprised, and I was surprised by what a wonderful storyline it was for such a short, again, this one was only like 8 minutes, I think, but it really surprised me at how it had such a twist at the end that I actually didn't even get it at the end. I had to go, oh, do you know what I mean?
That's probably my fault. I think I tend to be a little too subtle sometimes. I think I'm saying something and then nobody else gets it. What was great about the Second Saturday Film Club, or what is great about it, is that it's just a lot of people who want to learn about making movies. So there's no egos or anything like that. It's just we all get together and we do it. So this was actually written by one of the other members of the studio of the club, and then produced by somebody else. And they asked me to direct it, and it was just kind of a collaborative effort.
That's very
And
cool.
so it wasn't like one person's, like Angel of Death, where it was my story, it was my idea, and I kind of took it through from beginning to end. This was more of a collaborative idea, using somebody else's story and them getting to see how a story develops from what he originally wrote to what it finally ended up being.
Right.
So it was a good journey.
So what did you do for a living? to make money, since obviously, I mean, you
I'm
just...
I'm a good bum. No. Well, when I was down in LA, I did a wide variety of jobs. The average one I mean, the cliche for most Hollywood actors is waiting tables.
I was just going to say, waiting tables.
It's waiting tables, and
Sure.
that's what I did. And it is the ideal job because you have ready cash. You can fluctuate hours and things like that.
I used to be a waitress.
There you go.
I
So you know,
understand, for many years.
When I moved back up here, the first offer that came my way actually was to become a private investigator. So I became a private investigator for about 4 to 5 years until I ended up with some health problems, and so I just decided it was time to relax and concentrate on those for a while.
Did you enjoy being a private investigator? I mean, there seems like there's a lot of James Bond mystery in that as well.
Aside from
right?
the Ferraris and the shootouts, it was no. No, it's a lot of fun, and I remember one of the first cases I had to go find somebody in Philomath. And so I had a Jeep at the time, so I was in my Jeep. It was a sunny, gorgeous day. I had the radio playing some classic rock songs. The top was down, and I pulled up to a stoplight, and I just was kind of thinking, I'm getting paid for this. What a great job.
Nice,
so, yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, so now coming back to the Second Saturday Film Club, you guys are currently working on something, I think, from what I can tell.
Yeah, we're working on another project right now called East of a Dream.
Okay, I did find that right.
And
okay.
we're in the post-production process
Okay.
right now. So I'm actually doing the editing on this one. Do Unto Others I directed. This one I'm editing. We all kind of take turns trying different roles so we can see what the different jobs are.
And is this with you and Kyle and Mike Centenay?
Right.
And is Ken Moore in it too?
No, he is not in this one.
Okay.
I don't think he had any. Unfortunately for this production, one of the reasons that I'm editing and doing a post is I started another line of work that took me away from the summer, which is when most of the story process, shooting, casting, all of those things are done. So I just recently came back to this project and got the footage, and I'm kind of piecing it together for a first cut.
Is it a secret project that you did this summer?
Not that no, it's just a different line of work.
Oh, a different line of work.
Yeah,
Okay.
my wife, who is also a private investigator, we've been getting a little tired of it. You can only hang out with the seedy underbelly of Yamhill County for so long and stuff like that. So we got an idea to start a French fry concession.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we traveled around over the summer to all sorts of different festivals and
making French
fairs,
fries.
and just made French fries with all sorts of toppings, cheddar cheese, bacon.
Oh my God!
I'm not trying to make this a commercial, but
no, that's totally fine. If there was one guilty pleasure, like if you asked me my one guilty pleasure of food eating since forever, my whole entire life, it has been French fries.
That's why we went there. Who doesn't love French fries?
Who doesn't love French fries? You know, it's really a shame. Julia Child said McDonald's ruined their French fries when they stopped using, when they went to vegetable oil.
What's funny is that the name of our business is called Fry Hard. And we got it from the Die Hard movies, because I love movies and stuff like that. And it's fun because one of the so the menu is like Fry Hard, Fry Harder, Fry Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh
is
my
the spice
goodness,
list.
that's
and
hysterical.
It was so fun in the summer to sit there and watch people walk by, and then they'd sit there and they'd read the sign and they'd get it.
Right.
And you just see the smile on their face, like,
Sure.
oh, I get it, I understand.
That's wonderful. That's hysterical. Okay, so now you're doing the editing on
Right.
the East
of a Dream.
Of a Dream, okay. And so you're working on the editing, and when is this supposed to be released?
Well, our hope is actually to have it ready to enter into a local film company, McMinnville Film Festival. And the deadline is the 30th of November, so we're
coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. We're cutting it tight.
It's getting very tight.
That's just every film I've ever worked on. That's just the way it works.
So I've always been a film buff, and I'm glad that you actually brought up the McMinnville Film Festival, International Film Festival, because I just got to go to the fundraiser that they just had.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I saw some really incredible things, and I was thinking about Do Unto Others, how that fit in so nicely to the different kinds of shorts and genre.
Yeah.
You know, you said that was. Did you say that one was submitted? No.
It was. No, Do Unto Others actually got it. And the best, I thought, that the best part of the whole festival was after we'd had our showing, they brought the filmmakers up to the front of the theater to talk about it.
Right.
And so we're all up there, and these were really good films, and these people had put a lot of work into, but they were clearly, there was some money behind it, and they were professionally done and stuff. And so one of the questions that somebody asked was, she goes, I just want to know if you'd all tell us, how long did it take you to shoot this, and how much did it cost?
Oh, God.
And so it started down, and it was like, $10,000 in 2 weeks, and 10 days, and 35,000. It was, and then they got to us, and it was like, well, 2 days and $300.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And yeah, and everybody was like, oh yay, clap,
yeah,
clap,
right. Of course,
so
that's very cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited about the film festival, so I'm glad that you're going to be submitting this new film.
Yeah, we hope to. It should be, and it's looking good.
Yeah.
They say in the film that the finished product is never looks as good as the dailies or just the shots themselves,
right?
But never as bad as the first cut.
Sure.
So yeah, so
sure,
it'll get tightened down, and it'll be.
Well, I'm hoping at some point I'll learn how to do editing myself, so I'm kind of excited.
Yeah.
Got to do the opening and the closing of this show, so I'm excited to play around with it a little bit. So.
It is fun. It's a fun process,
fun,
yeah.
and really figuring out the right timing and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I got it quite right, but that's okay. This is a new show,
Right,
so.
but that's the fun of learning too. Is just trying the different things.
Exactly. Well, I am really excited. Let's see, what else? Was there anything else that I wanted to ask you about? I think I covered it. Is there anything else we should know about you? Any little secret?
I tried to keep all the dirt hidden.
I
so
know.
I don't know.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're
I
very
really
welcome.
appreciate you joining us and being my first guest. And
Sure.
this was a lot of fun, and actually it broadened my vision into what they're doing here at the studio and the gang that all works very closely together here. That was really, really enjoyable for me. So
Good. Well, I'm glad.
thank you for
You're
that.
very welcome.
So I wanted to bring a little part to this show, which is to talk a little bit about some events that are going on around in our community. 10 Oaks on December 5th is doing Poetry Night. It's a joint effort with the McMinnville Public Library. Diane Forsberg, Joel Zach, and will be a part of that. And they're also planning for a big event, a huge event. This has never been done before in our county. 10 Oaks is going to be hosting for all of the Yamhill County area high schools on January 15th. They are going to be hosting an art exhibit. All of the high schools are coming together and are going to be rotating through and showing at 10 Oaks, and we're very excited about that. I also wanted to mention that there are classes that are going on, art classes. So if you're interested in anything from advanced to beginning watercolors to drawing to writing, there are classes that are going on at both Currents Gallery as well as the Mecca Gallery and Newburgh Chehalem Cultural Center. And then I'd also like to invite you to join us for our Mecca holiday party on December 7th from 6 to 9. So thank you again for being our guest.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Cameron, I really appreciate it. And thank you, and have a great day.